So, the first week of Garb August is almost at an end. And if you don't know yet, but Garb August, the whole of the month of August, we celebrate all kinds of pulp fiction, popular fiction and non-fiction, popular non-fiction as well. More information about it in the description box below. A couple of days ago, I already made a review about the first prompt for the first week, and that is Anything Goes. So I did a body read with Bette is Red. Check her video out and her channel out as well, as it is well worth watching. And she's also, like me, a co-host in Garb August. But in this version of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, there are also a couple of short stories Henry Farrell wrote. And one of these short stories is the follow-up of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. And that is Whatever Happened to Cousin Charlotte. Well, this title may not say you that much, but it has been turned into a film with Bette Davis and Olivia de Havilland. This is Obscure Book Adventures. I am your host Annie, and in this video I will talk about the original story Henry Farrell wrote and the film adaptation with Bette Davis and Olivia de Havilland. Why I think the original story is much better than this film adaptation, and I will go into some minor spoilers of the story. Well, mainly spoilers for the film, not so much for the short story, but I'll warn you well in advance when I come to that point in the video. Whatever Happened to Charlotte is much more a horror story in the traditional sense than Whatever Happened to Baby Jane was. And the story Whatever Happened to Cousin Charlotte starts with a bulldozer threatening to demolish Charlotte's house. Charlotte did get an eviction notice, but she ignored it, and she is still living in the house, which has to be demolished because, well, there are new buildings. A project developer is planning new buildings there. And Charlotte wakes up and hears the bulldozer, and she gets her shotgun and she starts shooting at the bulldozer from her balcony, and she chases the demolition crew of her property. And Charlotte is an elderly lady, but she is definitely no pushover. I immediately love her. I'm not going to say anything more about the plot development of this short story, as it is a short story and it's easy to spoil the plot. I can highly recommend you read it for yourself. I found the story an absolutely thrilling one. I assumed, like every character in the story, that Charlotte killed her married lover. And so I'm in it for the horror elements and not for the mystery element of this story. And there are definitely some horrific things going on in this novel. Like, take for example the gruesome way John, Charlotte's married lover, is coming to an end and has been murdered. And I also found the end of the story a very satisfying one. Although some of you might guess a little bit how it's going to end, for me it was a surprise. Like I said, I wasn't in it for the mystery. I was in it for the horror, so I wasn't in a mystery mindset. Still, you might be surprised by the why and the how of things. Director Aldrich stretches this short story to a 2 hour plus horror film, which I am being told is extremely lengthy for a horror film. Most horror films, somebody told me, only lasts for 90 minutes or something. And the film begins with a prologue in which we see John's gruesome murder. Like in the short story, it's done in a very gruesome way, which chopped off limbs and stuff, and John losing his head. I don't have so much a problem with the length of the film, I must admit, and I don't have really a problem with the overacting, the melodramatic acting. I didn't have a problem with that. I think personally that all of the actors did an excellent job at it. But comparing Hush Hush, Sweet Charlotte with whatever happened to Baby Jane, Hush Hush, Sweet Charlotte has a more campy, pulpy kind of feel to it than whatever happened to Baby Jane. Of course, it could be the overacting. I thought that in Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte there was more overacting going on, and that always, for me, has a more pulpy feel to it. But I think it's mainly because the special effects aren't that sophisticated, aren't that impressive, I must admit. And it's absolutely not that in the 1960s you didn't have realistic and good special effects. They definitely had those, but I think they just didn't have the budget for it. I did have a problem with the over-explaining of things, like we are some sort of stupid children who can't understand the story. The same things are explained over and over again. I also have a problem with the revealing of it all and some important changes in the original story. Now we get to the spoilery bit of this video. In the original story, it is a complete surprise what cousin Miriam is up to and has been up to for decades and decades. Still trying not to spoil the short story too much for you. In the film, we know what she's up to long before the end of the film. I think they had to. Because they felt people wouldn't understand, or maybe it was because they didn't have the means to have very realistic special effects. I don't know, but in the film they want to make Charlotte mad, which is odd because, it's not odd because they want to put her in a psychiatric hospital and to get access to her money because she didn't spend it on the house. But why? Everybody already thinks Charlotte is mad for staying in a house that's going to be demolished and shooting at people. And everybody already thinks Charlotte murdered her married lover. So this is not really a convincing motive. In the short story, it's much more simpler and much more logical why Miriam does the things she does, and her accomplice does what he does. So some scenes are straight up from the short story, but they take on a whole different meaning in the film than it has in the short story. Take, for example, this scene. In the short story, this scene is just meant as Miriam slapping some sense in Charlotte to stop her from panicking and attracting attention to her. But in this film, it's because Miriam is angry at Charlotte for getting her into this mess. Well, Miriam wants Charlotte to believe this anyway. Still, I found this to be one of the most fun scenes in the film, I must admit, because I found it really funny. And you might think, well, slapping somebody is not funny, but the timing of it is very funny, and the slapping really takes longer, goes on for much longer than is realistically necessary, and this has a comical effect, I found anyway. The DVD has a version with a commentary of Glenn Erickson, who is apparently a writer on the internet under the name of DVD Servant. I'd never heard of him, I must admit, but he seems very knowledgeable about films in general. He talks about all of the careers of all of the actors that are in these films, even the ones who have only minor parts in it, and he references other films as well. Films I haven't seen, I must admit. So he did for this audio commentary thorough research. But personally, I wasn't that interested in that information. I was only keen on hearing about information directly related to the film and how it was made. And for this, you don't have to watch the DVD commentary. Because he doesn't talk all that much about it. Although he speculates why Joan Crawford wasn't in the film. And from what I understand, she got ill. She had some lung problems, and that's why she wasn't in it. Other people said she didn't want to be upstaged by Bette Davis, so nobody really knows for sure. Bette Davis is dead and Joan Crawford is no longer around, so we will never know this. But he speculates about this, and he talks a little bit about Aldrich's way of filming and the lighting of the film, but he quickly switches over to other films Aldrich did and the career of the people who worked on the film, what other stuff they did. But maybe at the time the DVD commentary was made, and Erikson was asked to do this, there wasn't much information about this available. So I don't know. I can highly recommend the short story, which was published in this edition of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. There are also a couple of other short stories in this novel as well. I haven't read them yet, but I can highly recommend the short story by Farrell. I think it's absolutely an excellent short story. And the film is worthwhile. Like I said, the acting is excellent. I think it's excellent. I think it's worthwhile if you see it more like a curiosity. And it is part of film history. And I think it's well worthwhile if you ignore the over-explaining and the story not being as good as the short story. I don't think the film does the short story very much justice, I must admit. But you might like the film. Maybe you might like it. Well, thanks for watching. Keep those pulp juices flowing, and I hope to see you in the next video.
Hush. Hush, sweet Charlotte.